What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 190 of Expert Mentors Live, and I am super excited for today's conversation. Everything's always timely, right? Everything's always timely,
Yep.
and there's been a big. I've had a lot of conversations over the last few weeks, really coming back around to two things: one, communication, and two, really, how should I be structuring my business for whatever the future may hold. And, diving into today's topic of really that bulletproof real estate business.
Yeah.
But also I want to get in and pull a little bit of your background out. As I was going through just communication major, and I was like everything just is timely and how important that is. And, how critical how we communicate moving forward in our content, in our marketing, to our family, to our team, to our community, clients, and really how important that is. So I'm super excited to dive in with you. So Katharine, welcome.
Thank you so much. And I've got to say, first of all, that from the week I joined EXP, I have had you live, and you probably see it pop up on all these lives. I literally have you live when I see it pop up, and I have it playing. So if there's anybody who is watching this who does not listen to every single one that you do, you should, because even if it's just playing on the side while you're doing work, you will pick up at least one thing every time you go live. It is phenomenal. You are so good at it. Just so you know, because I don't know how many times people tell you that, but because I've been doing this for quite a while. And, when we were talking about my past, I was a professor in university of communication. So I pick up on things that other people are like, yeah. So I'm like, no, you don't understand. They're really good at what they do. So, kudos to you, because you do a phenomenal job of sort of bringing people along that journey and getting the point across of what is that nugget that you want people to take away.
Yeah, thank you. That absolutely, means the world. And, and I think this is a good lesson for everybody. And I know you're going to hit on it as well. I forget the story, and don't know if it's true or not. Let's just say it is. But there was a professor who had an arts class, and so he divided the class and the students into two groups, and the goal was, this is how you make an A in this course. It's either pass or fail, A or not. And then this group, this is how you make an A in this course. And this group was, you guys have to, the entire duration of the session, of the class, of the quarter, whatever, you have to make one perfect piece of pottery, one perfect piece. And that's how you get your A. This group, you have to make 50 pounds of pottery to get your A. And, the whole process and going through that exercise was that what was uncovered is that the group that was focused on the perfect piece of pottery could never get it. And the group that was just focused on creating 50 pounds of pottery ended up creating perfect pieces of pottery. And so the lesson is you just have to create more, and the gold and the A's are going to come out of it. And that's just been a valuable lesson in everything that we've done.
So true.
Kind of moving forward. So yeah, I'm excited to dive in with you. So let's go take us back in time a little bit. Let's talk about university and, what led you into kind of, going down communication and then transform in how you've been able to carry that into remarkable things that you've been able to do in your market and your business, moving forward.
So I have a colorful history, and some people know it, and some people I haven't brought it up. Sometimes I put it on Facebook. So I was living in Europe. So I moved to Europe when I was 22. I graduated from the University of Toronto, and I just decided like I needed to be as far away from Canada as possible to be independent. So I get a call at 4 o'clock one morning. I had applied everywhere. I mean, you name it, I had applied around the world. I get a call at 4 o'clock one morning. Hey, do you want to come and teach in our school? I'm 22 years old. I don't know the first thing about teaching. I was like, yeah, sure.
Sure.
So she says, okay, you're going to teach primary school students and French. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. So I looked at my parents and I said, by the way, I'm leaving in 2 weeks and I'm moving to Europe. I literally looked around my room. I had $700 in my bank account. I grabbed my pillow. I packed my clothes in a trunk, those old trunks. I sent off the trunk and I left. And it is the best thing I have ever done for myself because it made me grow up immediately. I get to this school and I was so naive. I never even asked her how much she was going to pay me. And then when I got there, she was going to pay me £200 a month. That was equaling about 400 Canadian dollars for the month. Like, we're not talking about the 1950s, right? Like, this was whatever it was, I don't remember, but it shouldn't have been $400. So I realized that I had to get an afternoon job as well. And because it's a hot Mediterranean country, I moved to Cyprus. I had to work from 7 a.m. at this school till 1. And then from 1:30 until 8:30, I had to have another job teaching English as a second language. Again, wow. I don't know the first thing about English as a second language. When we're taught English in school, and I think you'll understand this, they don't teach us like all the grammatical, past perfect, future perfect, and all this. I didn't have a clue. So I walk into that class, which is high school students in the afternoon. First day of the class, I'm trying to teach, and this 16-year-old boy puts up his hand and he says, "You have never done this before." I was horrified. But you know what that did? It made me go home and start beginning to end of the textbook I was teaching and learn every lesson before I walked into class. And there was no internet. So it was literally the textbook I was teaching. I had to learn in order to.
You were one chapter ahead.
Right. And then, of course, you have how do you command a classroom at the age of 22? Right. I looked young and I've got these 16-year-olds. I'm not that much older than them. And of course, they're speaking Greek. I don't know what they're saying. So what do I need to do? Now I need to learn Greek. So I bought a dictionary, English, Greek, sat in front of soap operas every night, translating what they were saying in the soap operas, and I taught myself Greek. So that's when amazing. I had to go and meet the parents, and this is where, I find these days, people don't do enough of this, like helping themselves. They wait for someone else to step in. I knew there was no one stepping in to save me here. I had to figure this out or I wasn't going to have a job and wasn't going to be able to pay bills. So I had someone translate for me, like, your child is talkative, and then put it in like Greek English so I could read it back to these parents at parent-teacher interviews, or your child needs to do more work. And I came up with like 20 sentences that I had to speak Greek to parents. But guess what? I did it. And then I managed to move up schools until I was at a private elite school where the prime ministers would send their kids, got great feedback from the people who were in those schools. And then I just kept moving forward. So here I am, foreign country, but I managed because I just watched, I listened, and especially learning how to teach. And I think real estate is really no different. And that's why I was able to sort of take off in real estate, even though I knew nothing about it coming from the education, was all you've got to do is model what you think is a great real estate agent, great teacher. So I would sit at the back of classes of these experienced teachers, and I would watch how they would command the classroom because I didn't know how to do it. And I would watch the teacher who would yell, right? He was yelling and telling the students off. And then I would watch the students' reactions. And it wasn't that great. They really weren't calming down, especially the ones who didn't appreciate punishment that way. And then I would sit in a classroom of a teacher who would stand at the front of the class and then just do this. And the whole class would go silent. And I thought, well, now I want to be that teacher. Like, and that's what I realized. It was just model who you respect and look up to. And that's how I became the teacher who could get students to do work. I could get students to be quiet. I didn't have to yell. They respected me because I learned these little nuances along the road from watching other teachers, putting it into practice, and then trying it myself. So fast forward, I decide that I want to get a master's degree so that I can move up to university level, right? Because that's my thing. Just keep moving up the ladder. So 2 kids, I've got 3 jobs, and I take on a master's degree that I'm doing through University of Manchester in England, and I've got to do it by mail. So I start that, and you actually have to, again, not much internet. So I'm forwarding the request of the books that I want to the library. The library send them in a package to me. I get them 3 weeks later, study those books, return them back, and this whole thing. So when we talk about, self-discipline and doing a master's degree after 9 o'clock at night when everyone has gone to bed, and I've got another 3 jobs starting the next day, it's self-discipline. So this,
where did that come from for you?
Necessity. It's actually necessity. I had to pay bills. I knew that if I got to university level, I would actually get paid more to work less. So therefore, maybe I don't need 3 jobs. If I'm getting paid more, working less, I can drop a job and be with my kids more. Well, here's what happened. I'm doing that for 2 years. And I'm going to bed one night and I have a massive heart attack. I'm 33 years old. I've got a 2-year-old. I've got a 6.5-year-old. And everything, like my chest is closing. I can't breathe. My right arm is numb. I call my husband. I'm living in the countryside. And it was about 10 o'clock. And I said to my husband, I said, I think I'm having a heart attack. And I crawled to the car. He was like trying to get everything set in the house. All the way to the hospital, I knew I was dying. I could feel myself going, and it's the strangest, calmest feeling you'll ever have. But at the back of my mind, I just kept saying, like, there's no way I'm leaving my kids. I'm not leaving my kids. Most people go unconscious when they have a heart attack. I was awake for the whole thing. So then there was this series, I call them miracles, that started happening. We pull up at this private hospital. First of all, we pass 2 police cars on the way to the hospital. He's driving so fast that they can't stop us because he had an Alfa Romeo and we were just going. He got me on a 20-minute hospital route in 8 minutes. So we get to the hospital. The only doctor on duty that night is the head cardiologist, and he's standing in the driveway of the hospital. Wow. So we pull up, he sees exactly what's happening. He starts working immediately, giving me aspirin and the whole thing. He says, yes, she's having a massive heart attack. We have to get her on IV. They put me into the ICU. That was a Tuesday night. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I had heart attacks every single day. I would stabilize and then another one would start 6 hours later. They would stabilize me. Another one would start 6 hours later. I've had every symptom of a heart attack. By Saturday, the surgeon walks in my room, looks over at me, and I was in what they call the American Heart Institute. Luckily enough, this private hospital in Cyprus has this institute called the American Heart Institute. And it was all American surgeons, all American nurses that happened to have this unit there. So he walks in, I'm 33, I'm the only woman in ICU because it's all like 70-year-old men who were in there getting heart surgery. And he says to me, he says, Katharine, there's nothing we can do for you right now. We've given you all we can give you. He said, if these heart attacks don't stop, you won't make it through the weekend. He said, I'm leaving it to you. So he walked out of the room. And I remember looking out the window and I was thinking and I said, there's just no way it's ending here. There is no way. I haven't done anything that I wanted to do. And I remember lying there till this day, the thoughts that were going through my mind. So what happened? Sunday morning, no heart attack. Sunday noon, nothing. Sunday night, nothing. They put me in for an angiogram Sunday night because I had stabilized for 24 hours. They told me I had 4 arteries blocked, and they were putting me in for triple bypass surgery the following day. So I'm in ICU, and they come into me at 4 a.m. and he says to me, he says, we're booked. He said, I can't find a time to put you in, but if I don't get you in, you won't survive. A man, 3 beds down. So here's the second miracle now. 3 beds down, this older man puts his hand up, and in Greek, he says, doctor, come here. The surgeon walks over to him, and he says to the surgeon, you're going to put her in my place at 9 a.m. And if I don't make it until you go to me, I'm okay with that. Like, you know, so these are all things that I can see that are going on. So at 9 a.m., they put me in for triple bypass. It took 12 hours. I was in recovery for about 2 weeks. I had to have blood transfusions. I had lost too much blood in the surgery. And they sent me home. They said, we've done what we can do. I said, why did this happen? We can't tell you. We don't know why a healthy 33-year-old was in here, but you just have to go home and try and be well and don't eat too much cheese. That was the medical instruction.
Cheese. Okay.
This is Europe, right? Europe.
Don't eat cheese.
So I'm home for a week and I have a stroke. Back to the hospital. They up all of my medication. I'm now on 15 kinds of medication because they don't know what to do with this lady who's 33, who's come in and had all of this with no previous heart anything in the family. Like, no one in my family has ever had a heart attack as far back as you can go. So I'm the lucky one who has started this for my kids now. So what happens? So now here you are. You've gone through all this. You are lucky as hell to be alive. I've been given a second chance now. There's a reason for that. I don't know what the reason is, but there's a reason for it. And to be quite honest, it took me a good 6 months of a pity party of why did this happen to me? I don't understand why. And I had panic attacks. I had anxiety attacks. I had depression. I had everything. You know, you have a scar down your chest. I have a scar down my leg where they had to move one of the veins to the chest. But you're left with this trauma of, I don't know why it happened. Like, give me something concrete so I can avoid doing it next time. So I got to the point where the anxiety attacks were so strong that I would have to create maps of where the closest hospitals were if I were to take my children out. Because I kept thinking, what if I have a heart attack while I'm driving and they're in the back seat? They're only 2 and 6.5. They can't help me. Mm-hmm. And this is what went through my head for years, 1 year, 2 years, because here's what happened. When they discharged me, the doctor said, 5 years. I'm giving you 5 years until we have to do this whole operation again, because women's veins are too thin and they don't hold up. So guess what I did for 5 years?
Watch the clock.
I counted myself down. Okay, it must be coming. It must be coming. But what happened is that holds you back from living life. Yeah. So I've always had sort of like these 2 little people on my shoulders. The one is telling me to not go forward because it's too risky. It's too scary. You know, you're going to die. The other one says, Katharine, you've been given a new lease on life. You've been given a second chance. Go for it. So what I did is 6 months into recovery, I just said, okay, we're going to ignore you for now, and we're going to go with this guy. So I decided to go and open a kid's 5,000 square foot indoor playground, the first one that they had in the country. I go and I order toys and a 20-foot slide from the US. I've ordered all these things, and I go and I create this indoor playground, and I'm holding parties for kids and families up to 120. I'm marketing in a country that I don't even know the language very well, but I figured out that if I marketed to schools in the off hours, they would come and do school trips. And if I market, you know, for parties, great. It took off, and it was really good, but I was still working a morning job, and I was teaching English as a second language, private students at the play area before I held parties. So I'm doing this to myself again. And I did that for 2 years. And then my husband looked at me. He's like, okay, it's enough. I think we should go to Canada. I think you should get the proper medical treatment, because during this period, the medicine is really making me sick, because if you don't have high blood pressure and they give you blood pressure medication, it actually makes you sick. So we come back to Canada. We sell up whatever we have, which wasn't a lot. We came with enough for a down payment. I had no job. I've got 2 kids. We have enough money only for a down payment, but no savings and no money to spend. We got to my parents' place, and now what? Like, what do I do now? I've got to rebuild. So I found a job in the government, and I was an assistant to someone. And it's hard to go from professor of a university to someone's assistant, and I'm getting them coffee, and we're doing insurance. So I did that for 6 months, and I actually just started applying to universities again here, and I got a job. And I started teaching, and I taught for 1.5 years. But what I realized going back to teaching is that I didn't want to do it anymore in that capacity. I needed to try something new. So I am the epitome of what we say about new agents. HGTV, I had never seen this before. I'm watching HGTV and I say, oh my gosh, I would love to do that.
That's my calling.
3 houses, they choose one and it's done. I can do this.
Of course, it's got to be that simple.
So I get my real estate license. I join a big brand brokerage. And I have an interview with the manager. She says, what's your goal, Katharine? I said, my goal is to make $30,000 so I could put new hardwood in the house that we bought because we have no money. She's like, that's your goal? I said, yeah. And if I have extra money on the side, that would be great too. My first year in real estate, 13 years ago, I did $100,000. I knew nobody. I didn't know a soul into the town I had moved into. No network, no sphere. But I did open houses one after another. And I just had, the only thing I had to rely on was my communication. Let me just talk to people. Let me just talk to people and ask them what they need. How can I help them? And that was it. And then I decided every year after that, let me improve. Let me figure this out. How do I get better? What is it I need to do? I would see something not work well. So I would go back and think, okay, well, if that didn't work like that, what if I did it like this? No money for marketing at all. So it was just me, and I had to figure it out. So I got Rookie of the Year my first year. And then every year after that, I increased by about 20% year after year. But then I came to like this plateau. I'm just talking like so much, I know. But by year 3, 4, I had received the Platinum Award at RE/MAX. I was moving up in the office rankings, but then I just plateaued. It was 250, 275, 250 GCI 3 years in a row. And I thought, no, now I need someone to help me to get over that hump. And that's what a lot of real estate agents, if they were to sit back and be honest with themselves and say, if I look at my past 3 years, have I increased consistently, 20%, 25%, or am I just doing little ones, or am I just sort of stagnant? And if your goal is to grow, you've got to look and be honest and say, if that's a trend, I don't want to be in that trend. I need to fix it. So what do I need to do? I need help. I need somebody who can get me over the hump and get me to the next level. And that's what I did. I hired my first coach year 4 or 5. And that is where video emerged.
Yeah.
And that's a funny.
So that's probably, we're thinking, so 22, so 12, so kind of in that 12, 13 timeframe.
I started a little bit then. So 2000, actually, no, it was 2016. So actually I was probably 6 years in the business before I actually hired someone. Because
let me ask, before we kind of transit, I don't want to lose this, because I think there's an important lesson here.
Yeah.
And you're hardwired to just figure things out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're just a very curious person by nature. Obviously that was instilled in you at some point. So there's a lot of people that have that, they have a little bit of success and they have that belief. And, like even for me, I made the mistake going down the endurance path, trying to do, my first Ironman. because I had figured out how to run a marathon by myself.
Yeah.
So I thought I had that false sense of belief or hope in myself that, oh,
Yeah.
well, shit, I figured that out. I figured this out too. And, you get to a point to where you realize, like, I need help. Like, for you, one, that strong sense of like, you say, you overcame, practically, almost, dying. So that gives you a level of confidence to be able to, that you can work through anything. But like, you finally got to that point, 3 years. So like, if somebody listening to this, like, how can you even shortcut that process to be like, don't try to figure shit out for 3 years. Like you need to work this framework faster if you want to accelerate your business.
So when I rewind, what I didn't do was I didn't track anything. I was just go. I was the Energizer bunny. Put me out the door and let me just do the work. So I didn't learn until later, right? That we have two ways of doing business. You work on your business and you work in your business.
Mm-hmm.
All I did was work in my business with a couple of marketing efforts on my business. But if you had asked me what percentage of your business came from referrals, what percentage came from open houses, I couldn't tell you. And had I tracked it, I would have noticed that the commissions were the same year after year. And had I tracked it, I would have realized that open houses were slowly going down, referrals were slightly increasing, and maybe there was an additional funnel I should be adding, but I didn't track it. And that is what I needed from a coach. I needed the coach to say, okay, tell me what percentage this business came from. And I was like, oh, shit.
I need to see.
Go back and check.
Yeah, I need that visibility to where is the constraint so we can make that adjustment to move faster. I love that.
Be aware of your business. And I think that, just in the fact, if you ask an agent, how many people are in your database? How often do you send stuff out? Like, ask specific questions about numbers. I would say 70% cannot answer because maybe no one's even ever showed them or told them, if you do this, then this. If you can show me these numbers, here is how we can take the business apart, see what's working, see what isn't. How much money are people spending on flyers that they're mailing out when if you took that $2,000 a month and poured it into Facebook or Google, the difference is massive. So it's things like that. Do you know where your money is going and what the return on investment is? Even simple things.
It's so I want everybody to get this point. So what Katharine's talking about, Les McCowan wrote a book called Predictable Success. He also has a book called The Synergist. Mm-hmm. And what he's identified that there's 4 different characters in all of our business. There's the visionary, there's the operator, there's the synergist, and then there's the processor. And you've got to have all 4 characters within your organization. And typically one visionary. And what we found is when you bring a collective group of visionaries together, especially in the real estate space, that those are the people that outgrow you and graduate and move on and do their own thing. They don't really stay in the organization for a set period of time. But Katharine, at this point up to her career and her life, she's an operator. And the definition of Les, what he talks about as an operator just gets shit done. Now, they don't know how they get it done, and they leave a wake of destruction in their path. And so that's why you have to have the different characters, because what helps us is that when we bring a processor in, the processor helps us get the visibility, get the consistency, document what we're doing. Hey, Katharine, keep doing what you do, keep getting things done. I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to watch what you do and I'm going to write it down so we can create some consistencies and being able to have predictable systems. And that's the whole concept that Les is talking about. So as you're talking, I'm like, yeah, Katharine's an operator. She just gets shit done.
Right.
So
it's
powerful.
And funny enough, that is the role that I had been in as a professor and teacher, right? Be solution oriented. Let me answer your problem. Let me figure that out for you. And so therefore that really kind of streamlines into being an operator. Let's get things done. And it's all I knew. But now what I realized when in getting a coach, other than the fact that I had to infuse these other parts now into my business, more marketing, more branding, and what that would do for me, I also now had to change hats. And now I need to actually have a vision for where I want to go. What do I want this to look like? And I'm still alone, but now I have to take on other roles because I now need to have that, that 360 perspective of my business. Okay, I've been working in it for so long. What if I just work on it now? What would it look like if I added these different funnels? What would it look like if I became more efficient? Work smarter, not harder. What would happen if I do these videos, spread them around the internet, and have a couple of billboards and do this? Well, now guess what? Now I'm omnipresent. And now I'm everywhere and people don't know where they're seeing me, but they just see me everywhere. This is now how my mind is beginning to transform out of operator into visionary. The operating is now just a part of who I am, right? I don't have to try, but now I actually have to give structure to it, right? Is there an end goal? Is there a vision? And now let's get you there. And this was, with the help of the coach who would keep me accountable, but also that's when mindset started to come in. Now I'm beginning to realize, okay, maybe what happened to me back in 2006 wasn't such a bad thing. Maybe it's given me what I need to move me forward. Maybe if I lived in gratitude every single day, people would understand that when they work with me, and it all happened.
Yeah, I love that. It is so powerful. And, like you said, it is that mindset. And, you can operate, like you said, to a certain point. But if you have a bigger vision for your life, then that just operating will not get you there.
No.
And so you got, it's gentleman's name, what got you here won't get you there. Understanding, we can get to a certain point, but then that's it. And you're speaking my language, obviously, with, knowing that we have our blind spots, and that's the power of having coaches, and coaches, can help us, reveal so we can heal what we don't see, and then absolutely keeping the train on the tracks for us to be able to move forward. But asking great questions, I think is the key for great coaching, and making sure that you're always being challenged in your thinking. You mentioned something there as you were kind of thinking through the marketing and the omnipresence, and I want to kind of lead into kind of the topic that we've thrown out for this conversation around bulletproofing your business.
Yeah.
So kind of lean in a little bit with this and the marketing and the video content and the creation to where we need to be moving forward to really build that bulletproof business that can withstand any market that may come our way.
So what I'd love to do is to go back to that sort of pivoting moment for myself when I decided to start looking at marketing, looking at branding, and how will this help me? So I'll tell you, I had a goal. My goal was, how do I get into people's living rooms, bypassing the mailbox, bypassing the garbage bins, which is where everyone's throwing out the postcards? How do I bypass that? And I realized that it was video. But what I needed to do was I wanted people to see me as the go-to person. Like as we say, the digital mayor. I wanted people to like me, know me, like me, and trust me. And I actually thought it would take much longer than it did, but it didn't. So I started doing a market update. And my first market update, I put it out there on Facebook within a week, and I did boost it. And back, 6 years ago, I boosted it for $50. And it took me a month.
I was about to say, how long did that last? For a while.
In 1 week, I got a CMA. I went and I got this 4-bedroom home in January in Canada. We don't get too many in January. And what happened was I said, okay, well, now I've got to go on to video number 2. So anyone who's watching, listen to the videos that I'm telling you about, right? So video number 1 was the market update. That's what brought in the lead for the listing. So then I say, okay, now I've got to go on to video number 2. And this is what my coach had told me. Video number 2 is the open house video. So you're going to go stand in front of the home. You're going to do a quick open house video, invite people in. But we didn't have analytics on Facebook back then. So I had to figure out how people had found me for the open house. So at the end of my video, I said, if you've watched this on this video, ask me for the gift at the open house. So guess what happened? People are coming to this open house asking me, is there a gift? And I was like, okay. They came here through the video. I boosted that video for $48 for 5 days. So it got a lot of traction. I had about 20 groups of people through this open house. 8 of them became clients. So within a 6-month period from those 2 videos, I did 100,000 in GCI just from those 8 people who had walked in the door of that one listing of my first market update. Wild. So here's what's happening. I'm like, hey, this stuff works. So now I say, well, why don't I try it with spotlighting businesses in town? And we see people doing this now, but I want you to remember, this is evergreen content.
Yeah.
A business spotlight is you giving back now to your community. So that's what I did. I started doing business spotlights, and I would go into businesses. I found a food truck who was parked in the mall beside me all the time, and I did the food truck. What happened after the food truck is the mayor had watched it, and then the mayor retweeted me and the video on Twitter. So now all of a sudden, other people around town are watching this video. So then what happened is, because the mayor retweeted it, the counselors in the chamber had seen it. And now the counselors are reaching out to me, asking me if I'll do a video with them because they have an initiative they want to put forward. So because that happened, then the library called me and say, hey, since you're a guru, like this is 6 months in, you're a video guru. Can you teach video marketing to the small businesses in town and we'll pay you? So then I did a course for the library here for small business owners, and it just unraveled. But here's the point. If I hadn't had enough nerve to do the first market update, to just see what the results could be, the rest would never have happened. And so many people, granted, today there's a lot of video out there, but here's what I know. I've started doing reels, and I started doing reels about 4 months ago. And you do one reel, 50 people watch. You do another reel, 100 people, 82 people. I'm used to video views of 150,000 people now. So 82, I'm like, 82 people, are you kidding me? But what's happened is that if you stick with it and you keep repeating it and you figure out the hashtags and learn a bit more, now I'm up to 5,000. And it's only taken 4 months to go from 82 to 5,000. So if I do it for another 4 months, do you think it's going to stay at 5? It won't. I know that because of my history with video. And that's the point, is that people give up too soon. And if they just stick with it and let it become a craft where you become good at it, which is exactly how we started this conversation today, keep doing it. It works. Yeah. But people give up. Oh, I don't see the results. The results don't come immediately.
You know, and it blows me away in this industry, because this is a delayed gratification industry as it is, right? You know, the work that we do today will not hit the bank account for 90 to 100 days from now. Yet we do a video and we don't get immediate gratification and we want to give up on it. And it's like, do you not understand how you get compensated in this business? It's delayed gratification. Yeah. And yet you're giving up on something because you're not seeing immediate results. And you know, it's that same concept. You got to understand, right? It's you know, the constant tweaking, and I always like it to, you know, we hear, hey, you know, if I give you the ingredients, but I don't give you the right sequence, you know, you might not be able to replicate this amazing cake, right? This recipe. Well, that's part of it. You got to have right things, right order. You got to have all the ingredients. You got to know right things, right order. But more importantly, you got to know at what temperature to set it on and for how long it's got to cook. And a lot of people, it's like, business wise, it comes down to cash conversion, understanding the cash conversion cycle on anything. The minute that you make some type of investment, either time, energy, or resources and dollars, there's a timetable before it returns. Yeah. And so it's back to that concept of, hey, if we're supposed to cook this, for 45 minutes at 350, you're like, man, screw that, man. Let's jack it up to 700 and get it done in half the time. And we know what happens, right? You burn everything up. And so it is, everything has its own cadence, and everything has its own sequence, and everything has its own, timetable. Yeah. And you have to understand that. But the biggest thing is the delayed gratification.
And I'd love to bring up one point, if I could. Over the years that I've been teaching this now, I've had a lot of agents say to me, yeah, but that was you. It won't work for me. I'm not you. I don't look like you. I don't sound like you. And so I actually, when I owned a brokerage for 5 years. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to try this, because people keep telling me that it's me and it's the way that I'm doing it. I didn't believe that. I really believed that it was replicatable. The process of what you do and the way that you do it and how you push it out and the messaging is absolutely replicatable. And then each person takes on who they are. And that is what comes out to the audience, because you attract, people are going to like you, know you, trust you, or know you, like you, trust you, whichever order you want that. They're going to pick up who you are from that video. So I did it with the agents in my brokerage. I had one young man started, he came to me, $30,000 GCI. That had been his cap for 5 years at a previous brokerage. By month 11, we were at 120,000 GCI. By month 11, by simply recreating the systems and processes that I had done year after year for 6 years. So then I tried it with another lady who had been a broker. She had been a manager somewhere. She came in. Let's do this. All of a sudden, people are like, oh, who is this person? Oh, and then they start adding her on Facebook. And now all of a sudden the audience grew. And when I closed the brokerage, I think she had exceeded 350, 400,000. I mean, it is replicatable, but you have to stick with it, and you've got to be consistent, and you've got to have your goal in mind, right? What's your why? Why are you doing this? Because you're not going to do a video if you don't know why you're doing it. It's really as simple as that. I've always known what my goal was. What's that outcome I was looking for? My outcome when I started video was I wanted to bypass the mailboxes and go straight into people's living rooms so they could know who I am. In 2 years, I could walk into the grocery store. This is a funny story. I walked into the grocery store to get a platter of sandwiches from the deli. It's an 18-year-old behind the counter. She said, okay, can I get your name? And I said, Catherine. And she's like, what's your phone number? And I said, 416. And she looked around. She's like, 550-3644. I looked at your videos. I was like, oh my God. I went 150 kilometers away. So 100 miles away, I went to a restaurant for dinner. The server comes up to me. She's like, oh my God, I watch your real estate videos 100 miles away from me, because they had just either been shared or I don't even know which one it was. But that is the power of social media, that I didn't sit on a phone looking for those people. I wasn't walking around neighborhoods, hand delivering flyers. It was working for me. And this is how your capacity can go up in this business, and you can get more done and accomplished, is when you have systems and processes working for you. And it's not just me, because I proved that it's replicatable, but then you can replicate this, imagine, on an entire team now. And imagine that team is in different states. It's limitless, as long as you know what the system is, what the process is, and what is that outcome that you are shooting for.
You said a couple things there. One goes back to the Oprah question, and it's a question that we always have to ask, and it's the question that we always ask in every meeting. It's Oprah's question every meeting that she gets into. She always sits down and says, okay, what's the intent of this meeting?
Yes.
And so it's everything that you do. It's like you took the evaluation, and I'm just kind of, just
Yeah.
echoing what you said of,
Yeah.
you wanted to bypass the mail, the trash, and get right in front of them. And so it's like, what's the intent? Like, what's the goal? Like, what are we trying to accomplish here? And that just allows to better questions, better thinking.
Yes.
And so, the other thing that you had just mentioned, and then I'm going to kind of ask you a technical question. You had said increase our capacity. So my favorite definition of clarity, and if we understand, when we're communicating and working with agents, with clients, team members, is that everybody comes to us lost, confused, and insecure. Our job is to provide clarity and help them gain confidence in whatever it is they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite definition of clarity is capacity minus contamination. So increasing our capacity, our knowledge, our capabilities, our skill, our awareness around a particular subject that we're trying to get clear on, minus the contamination, which is the limiting beliefs, the constraints in our thinking, in our belief system. It's everything.
Everything.
And so really, as we kind of keep kind of around talking about, the video content side of things, I've got a fun question I'll ask here in a minute, but one, what are some key fundamentals, as if people, hey, Katharine, I'm with you. I'm all in on video. I'm just not gaining much traction. Hey, I'll keep at it. But like, what are some key elements that we have to make sure that are in all of our videos?
Okay, so obviously this has evolved. As video has evolved, so has the components of them. The messaging really hasn't changed. So we can talk about that in a minute. But the key components of a video are immediately hook the audience. And when someone says, I'm not really sure what that means, I always say, I need you to go home and I need you to put on the evening news. Because what happens with the evening news is they have a hook, they do a commercial, and then they start the news. And it's always the same recipe. And they have been doing that for as long as the news has existed. And the reason they do that is to capture your attention. Goat falls 20 feet down a well. Like, who cares? But you're like, really? 20 feet? What happens is you've just simply caught my attention amongst all the noise going on in the world, and you're drawing me in. You need to be able to do that in a video of any kind. So it's a market update. Just give some type of a sensational headline that's true, not something that's false and it's like a clickbait. We don't want that. But we want something that really, I always say, what's on their mind? What is on your audience's mind right now? Oh, it's about the market. It's about the crash. It's about houses plummeting. These are what we call power words in marketing. Choose a couple of words that are going to attract your audience. Then introduce what you're talking about. I'm about to talk about the market update report for Toronto and the Greater Toronto Area. I'm Katharine Loucaidou. Where do you work? This is how the lady behind the deli counter knew my phone number, because every video was the same, right? You want to bake a cake, don't change the recipe. Use the same recipe. So that's what it was. It was hook. It was, here's what I'm going to talk about. Here is my name. Here is my phone number to contact me. Now let me get started. Because what we know about video and video content is that most people will drop off at around the 30-second range. In 30 seconds, can you pull them in, let them know who you are, right? Because now it's this repetition and it's branding, basically face to a name. And then if they're really interested, they will hang in for the content. And don't worry if you see you drop off at the 20-second or 30-second the first few times. What will happen is eventually they will start watching you, and they'll watch a little longer each time. I met a lady in a gas station and she's like, oh my God, you're Katharine Loucaidou. We sit around the bonfire in the summer watching your videos. And you think to yourself, really? I really didn't think anyone watched them. But it happens, and you don't always hear the feedback, but you have to keep going. So those elements, At the end of your market update, for example, again, say who you are and what do you want them to do? Do you want them to visit your website? Do you want them to call you? What do you want them to do? People need direction. This is the simplest analogy I can give. There is a reason we have stop signs in this world. You actually have to tell people you need to stop here. Exactly. Video is no different. Tell people what you want them to do.
Yeah, it is. It's a great framework. That's, Russ, Brunson, the hook story offer, but that hook, like you said, but then it's the introduction of what we're going to talk about, introduction about yourself, and then hit that call to action right there, and then get into tell them what you were going to tell them, and then hit them with that, tell them what to do again. Yeah. And it's so important. I do want to ask a fun question around video and creativeness. I've always been kind of drawn to the creativeness side around how you showcase properties and how you showcase unique properties. And, I've had a few clients over the years and had one out of Atlanta, and she had this, really unique luxury, massive home in Atlanta. And they had some fun with it to where they had a bunch of kids. And so it like kind of comes in and they're playing hide and go seek. And so one of the kids starts to count, and all of the kids, then the rest of the kids, there's probably a dozen of them, disperse and they run into the house. And the camera, then the one kid's chasing them, and then they just follow the kid chasing them, but it goes through every room and showcases the house.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on the power of the unique properties, the power of the creativeness to showcase properties, versus, oh, here we go, we've got this standard, here's this, kind of traditional.
I love that you have brought this up. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And I will tell you why. I decided I got a $2.5 million property about 4 years ago. Gorgeous property. I mean, luxury to the nines. And I sat there and I thought, I can't just do the agent intro and then show it. So I call up this videographer right now. Now I use my son in his company, but prior to my son opening his company, I called up this videographer. I said, here's my idea. I know you're going to think I'm crazy. This place has 15-foot ceilings. Here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to start the drone outside the front door, and I'd like you to fly it through the house and out the back onto the 3 acres. Could you do that? And he's like, I think I could. I said, okay, perfect. But then around that, I wanted to create a story, because telling a story without having the words is really important. And I knew exactly who I wanted to purchase this property. I knew who my target audience was. And that's like almost a whole other video, but I knew who I wanted that avatar to be. I knew it was going to be a family. I knew it was going to be someone who's well-to-do, obviously, because it was a time when our market was a little bit shifty, and I didn't have a lot of money to do it. So I hired my brother and his wife, who are very good-looking people. And I decided, here's what I know about capturing attention: babies and puppies. I said, I don't want to put a baby in the video, so we need puppies. So I created a Facebook group. This is one of the things that I did in the past for people in the community. So I have this Facebook group of about 2,500 people in the community. And I went in and I said, hey guys, I need 2 puppies who are adorable, and I will give you a gift card to a local pet store if I can rent them from you for 3 hours. And they said, and this lady came, she's like, I've got 2 beautiful little Shih Tzus. She's like, what about, I was like, oh, that's perfect. So we get to this property. I knew the storyline. I wanted the storyline to be the husband surprises the wife with the house, and then the puppies come running out. And that's what it was. It was, they walk down the trails, which are lifestyle, because that's basically what this is. So we show the lifestyle. Then we show the expensive car coming up the driveway. I answer the door because I still wanted a little bit of the branding. And then we have them touring the home together, holding hands. And then I created a big card, and I said, my love, this is your new home. And so she opens the card, so the camera goes in on the card. And then when she closes the card, a door opens and these puppies come running out. And then the camera's going to follow the puppies while she's chasing after them. And these puppies are literally going wild in this house. So what we had done is we had left little treats all the way around where we wanted the puppies to go. So they would go and eat the treats all the way around the house.
Oh, that's awesome.
But the part, here's the amazing part. I found a buyer within 2 weeks for this $2.5 million home in a market that was shifting. Guess who called me last week? The buyer of the home called me as if we had been friends forever. He's like, hey, Katharine. I said, hi. He's like, so guess what? I know what a great job you did when I bought the house. So I'm asking you if you could list it for me in 3 weeks, and we're going to list for around 3 million. Right?
Absolutely.
So was all that work worth it? It was, because now that's like my portfolio sitting on YouTube, and it's got, I don't even know, I think 100,000 views on that video, but it gives you, it elevates you, right? If you're going into the luxury market, you need to have at least one item for your portfolio where you went all in on something unique, because guess what happens? It brings that buyer back to you. He didn't even go back to his agent. He's coming back to me to sell the home.
Love it. I love it. I'm so excited to hear you say that. It's just, I really believe that if more agents would kind of lean that way on the creativeness, they'll definitely see a greater return, especially as I really believe how important it is to be focusing in on a little bit higher price point markets, moving into the future. And so being able to do that. So Katharine, this has been absolutely invaluable. I mean, it's such a great conversation. I can't thank you enough for being vulnerable and transparent and sharing your story and how impactful it really is. But as we wrap up here, what would you leave agents listening in to this, or even small business owners, listening to this, of really like your best piece of advice for them, moving forward?
It's actually really simple. It is, you need to get out of your head, right? Your business will not move forward. And this is something I taught last week in a mastermind is, when we create habits, I actually hate the word habit because we're so used to hearing it that we don't really like habits anymore. So I say a habit is either a belief that leads to a behavior or a behavior that leads to a belief. And so many agents have a belief that they won't be good on video, that they're scared to do video, that no one will watch the video. What if I make a mistake on the video? That's a belief that you have. But if you flip it and you just say, if I do video 20 times, I'm actually going to become good at it. Now your behavior is changing your belief about yourself. And that's all I did. I just said, you know what? My goal is stronger than my fear of doing video. So I need to do it. And if it means that I can feed my family, then hell yeah, I'm going to do video. And that in turn was like a domino effect of so many other things that transformed. I mean, my business myself as a solo agent went from 10 million doing very well to 21 million in 2 years. Phenomenal. And it wasn't that I was working harder. It's just that I changed my mindset and the beliefs that I had around video. That's it.
I love it. That is so perfect way to wrap up this fantastic conversation. And can't thank you enough. For all of you guys listening in, make sure you guys give Katharine lots of love, connect with her anywhere and everywhere on social media. Katharine, what's the best way for them to get plugged in with you?
Facebook, I'm Katharine Loucaidou. On Instagram, Katharine Loucaidou. Like literally everywhere I am Katharine Loucaidou. And just reach out to me, send me friend requests. I'm happy to chat with anyone. I'm an
awesome.
Open book.
I love it. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.